वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति 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 Okay, so in the previous verse, what was said is that the bhaktas are not just people who don't know Ishvara. Bhaktas are also people who know the nature, totally know the nature of Ishvara and the nature of the ultimate reality. So this is something which is very important to understand, because a lot of Vedanta is taught like, yeah, till you don't know the final reality, Ishvara is important. But once you know the final reality, Ishvara is not important, right? It's just an intermediate state. We are not here talking about intermediate state or anything. There is a presence. You can't ignore that presence, right? So up to now, what we have seen is, what is that presence? That imagine the wave, and the wave had were given senses, right? And the senses were designed in a way that what the wave can only see other waves. That's how the eyes are programmed. So that means when you try to use that process, how far can you go? Within those waves alone. Right? And through that, and let's say your mind is a little bit more advanced, and then you can do inference. Then what can you, how far can you go with that inference? You can, in fact, you can't even come to, you only will then say, okay, now here this, because your eyes is what, just looking at the waves. So then you will infer, you said, okay, now in Atlantic Ocean the waves are of this color, but in Pacific Ocean the waves would be of different color. So that's what, on this earth people are like this, somewhere else the world is different. You know, the entire scope, because all the data that you get for your inference is also what, within that only. So you keep going within this, and you can go very far also. It's not that you can't, but it stays within forms. Then you can use your inference to say, okay, now if there was rain, then how big would be the wave? What height it would have? How much longevity it could have? Are there any ways that I can intervene to increase the longevity? The entire thing remains within the world of waves. Even the inferences remain within the world of waves. You have to have a different pramana who points out what the presence of the ocean. Because your eyes, if they are programmed in a way that they will only see what the waves, they will never come to, because the entire vision of ocean is not given. So therefore, somebody else has to point out and say what? Whenever you touch the wave, that's exactly, don't look for ocean somewhere else away. Wherever there is a wave, that's exactly where what? Ocean is. But is ocean only that way? No. It pervades the entire wave, but itself is what? Not confined to that wave. The whole teaching is like that. Then you said, oh yeah, but this ocean as entity is not available for me to be seen. True. This is why we need to use another methodology. The wave has to come to know the presence of the ocean without, if the wave is trying to understand the ocean by the same method, it would want to objectify the ocean, it will make it into another wave. And it will miss the reality of the ocean. So therefore, the words are given, and the wise wave will, what will they do? Will try to understand the words, what is being said. And try to see that that's true, that this whole wave, where does it come from? By what it is sustained, unto which the wave goes, there is one entity. That entity is the ocean. The entire chapter that we have seen so far is just elaborating on this entity, that otherwise we can't see with our eyes. That is a difficulty. And because we can't see with our eyes, we can't also infer. It's a independent Vedanta. If you could infer, then what? You don't need Vedanta. It's a means of knowledge which makes you see this reality. So through Gita, through Upanishads, you are made to see this entity. If you use the words and see what they are saying, you can't miss Ishvara. If you don't let it interfere, if your other knowledge is, if you don't let it interfere, you can't but see Ishvara. And up to now, we have seen all different aspects of Ishvara. Ishvara as what? Nimitta Karana, the maker. Ishvara not only as the Nimitta Karana, but Upadana Karana, the material. Being the material, it pervades everything. Ishvara is also what? The beauty, all the aesthetics. It's not just the functions and the objects. Then Ishvara is also the brilliance. All different forms of brilliance. Then we saw that it's not that, and then Ishvara is also what? Manifest and unmanifest. Because everything that was shown was only with reference to manifest universe, right? You can see brilliance which is manifest, you see the forms which are manifest, you see the laws which are manifest. Then, but in fact, what is manifest at any given point in time itself is so partial, because what is manifest now is just 1% of what was before and what is going to be after. So if you only understand Ishvara as what is manifest now, what will happen? You will miss everything that has gone in the past, and you will miss everything that will come in the future. All the possibilities. So manifest and unmanifest, when you include what? Everything. The whole. Right? Then you also include what? The time and space within which everything comes into manifestation and unmanifestation. The framework within which all the objects come and the objects go. That is also Ishvara. So that means we included what? Manifest and unmanifest. So now it seems as though the whole thing is complete. Then what was said, now we only included only beautiful things. Then what did it say? I am also what? In form of, it gives the possibility of what? 3 gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. Within me all these gunas exist, and there is within me also is a free will, which gives you the capacity to engage in the world, and you come with a certain disposition because of what? Your past. But that past is not the one which constantly only governs you. You can change any time and you can influence your future. So that means you come with a sattvic guna, there is no guarantee that you will continue with it. You come with a rajasic, you can continue to be rajasic, you can anytime switch to sattvic, and you can also switch to tamasic. All possibilities. Tamas, same thing. You can anytime come out of the tamas and become either very active, become rajasic, and also eventually become sattvic. The whole possibility is given. There is a starting point which is a different starting point for everyone based on what was in the past. So therefore, and then when you act irresponsibly, what is Ishvara? It is karma phaladata, it just gives you result. So nobody can say, if Ishvara is everything, why is there a war? Because Ishvara gives you the possibility of either at home, if there is a war, try to understand each other's position, communicate and resolve differences, or stick to your point and then there is a possibility. So how you collapse those possibilities is going to give you the result. And the same way at a macro level, you have countries. We've created artificial borders and we've made countries. Either the country can understand each other's standpoint, or you stick to your own interest, and then there are wars. So that means that Ishvara is not somebody who wants fights. Ishvara is not the one who wants violence. What is it? It's the intelligence within which all these possibilities exist. And the choices that you make, which are not in keeping with a certain dharma that you intuitively understand, will bring suffering. So that suffering also then, it ultimately is not to punish you, but to give you an indication that you are derailed. Right? The minute you recognize that you are derailed, you are supposed to, it's an indicator. You come back to alignment. If you were not given any indication, how will you know that I am not in alignment? So therefore, all the three gunas exist within Ishvara. And all the interactions, different individuals have different gunas, and they participate in this whole creation. It's not that they are just observer, or they are not just puppets. They participate. And according to their participation, they are given the results. Karma phala is from Ishvara because it shows you how you've been participating in this universe. It's an indicator. So this is how Ishvara is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, right? Then comes this whole question that if Ishvara is also Tamas, how can I have respect for this Ishvara? This is where this whole beautiful relationship of Satya Mithya was revealed. It says, I'm everything, I'm pervading everything, but I'm free from everything. And that relationship, it's not some unique relationship. Everything that needs to be understood, it's available to you, to be understood using the pramana in this world itself. So this is where we saw, using the example, it seems as though there are two things here. Table and wood. But in reality, how many things are there? One. But if there is only one, why do we have two names?
It's form.
Exactly. Once you understand that, Vedanta, you begin to make inroads into Vedanta. Where do you look for the truth of this table? Somewhere out there? Behind? Do you look for the truth of this table somewhere hidden? Behind something? As long as your orientation is the truth is below, you'll never get it. It is in and through. Where there is table, that's exactly where the wood is. What is the relationship? Table cannot exist without wood. But the wood is free from tableness. Vedanta. You don't need to manipulate anything. You don't need to imagine anything. You just need to use Shastra and see something which you otherwise cannot figure out. So this is what Lord Krishna says, that I am in and through everything, but I am free from everything. Now, he says, people who miss this reality, what do? They just stay within the forms. And some of them are mature, and some of them could be what? Just wasting away their lives. If you miss the presence of ocean, obviously you stay within the forms. And within those forms there are a range of people. It's not like they are all bad and they are all, But even if they are outstanding in one, their vision of the reality is so partial that even if you're excellent scientist, but somewhere along the line your emotional thing will be exactly. Somewhere you will see the gap because your understanding of the world is not complete. In fact, that some gap only will impel you to what? Look into realities further. If that gap was not there, you'll be very happy doing what you're doing. So this is what he says. Those who don't come to me, they continue with the forms and they have what? Different ways, but essentially it's not a complete living. Then he says, and then what about those who come to me? Those who come to me itself, there are 4 categories of people. They are not all. You can't put what? Those who come to me and those who don't come to me. And those who come to me are all wonderful and those who don't come to me are all condemned. No. Those who come to me also are of 4 types. One is a person in distress. When everything is fine, lovely. Then something happens, some crisis, oh, Ishvara. Then the other one is Artharthi. I understand that in everything that I do, there are things which are within my influence. There are so many things which are not in my influence, within not my sphere of control. So to make those variables which are not within your sphere of control in your favor, you pray. Artharthi. Then there is one more person who says, okay, now all this is fine, but what is this nature of Ishvara that I am praying and using as an accomplice? That is a Jignasu. One who wants to know what Ishvara is. Totally, not just vaguely. And finally, he says, there is also a Gnani who has understood me clearly. So this is where the meditation, as our teacher used to say, evolves. Initially, when you had no awareness of Ishvara, what you have to use your free will to bring in what? The presence of Ishvara very deliberately in different aspects of your life where you did not bring in. So this is what Swamiji was saying yesterday, that in your normal thinking, this pillar is just a pillar. There is no Ishvara there. You have to make an effort to see the fact that there is also Ishvara here. There is a deliberate attempt. You need to do that. Then in this tree, you are used to seeing it only as a tree. But you need to what? Bring to your mind that there is a tree form, but there is also presence of that intelligence which makes the tree what it is. There is deliberate attempt. so that your whole psyche gets reprogrammed to see the presence of Ishvara everywhere. Because it's not used to it. Then, as meditation evolves, and at one point you will ask yourself, show me one place where Ishvara is not. Before what? Let me see the presence of Ishvara everywhere. Then what? Let me find one place where I can say there is no Ishvara. Try. Wherever my mind goes, there is Ishvara's presence. Yatra yatra manoryati. Wherever my mind goes, I can never be away from Ishvara. So this is what the person evolves into. Now, what else? Now here in the next verse, so this is what all we have seen so far. Now, in the next verse, what Lord Krishna is talking about is, what is the relationship what Ishvara has with Jnani. Jnani is a wise person. Okay? It says, Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate Priyo Hi Jnani Notyarham Aham Sacha Mama Priyaha. So it is very extremely beautiful, and it says that among all for the others, what Ishvara exists, what for an Artharthi, Ishvara only exists in my awareness when there is trouble. In the other case, Ishvara exists only as an accomplice for me to get things done. The other one is trying to figure out the nature of Ishvara, but for the Jnani, what Ishvara is complete, and when it is complete, Jnani understands Ishvara is everywhere. Right? But in addition to that, here he says, so Jnani is never away from Ishvara, but there is one more thing which is pointed out here, which is really the culmination of Vedanta. Until now, we have seen the wave begins to understand the presence of the ocean, and in that presence, what gets rid of what one's fears, one's loneliness, one's what dissatisfaction, one's tendency to be a grabber. All this is what getting well. It's not only a matter of what just recognizing the presence of this entity, but in its recognition, what changing all your way of interacting with the world and getting well. Getting well means healthy attitudes, emotional maturity, your connection. The minute you begin to see you are connected, you change from being a consumer to being a contributor. All these shifts take place. It's not just a cognitive understanding of presence of Ishvara. In that understanding, the whole nurturing of that wave takes place. The entire nurturing, self-esteem of the wave. The inner confidence, inner worth of this wave. Everything comes along with that. This is what we call embellishment. Embellishment which is not as a result of Chanel makeup. It is an embellishment which is based on what I understand. Now, so that means that when along with that process, if you come to Vedanta, Ishvara also reveals one more reality. In addition to the ocean, there is one more fact which needs to be understood. And what is that? Water. That also you need to understand. Ishvara tells that, hey, it's true that when I say I am the ocean, I am what? This huge entity. And when you say I am the individual. Who are you? The wave. True. In the entity, there is difference or not? Huge disparity. You can't say the wave is the ocean. You can't say that. In the entity, if you are looking at the entity, there is a difference. And that you will never get rid of the difference. But every entity has a content. Right? And that content is what? The truth. The truth. So this is what it says, that this entity wave, what is the truth? It's water. And this entity, which is the ocean, which is much bigger than the wave, there is also the truth. And what is that? Again, water. So here he says, when our teacher used to say, when you ask the ocean, who are you? They will say what? I am the mighty ocean. Then you will ask the wave, who are you? I am this miserable wave. So there is what? Mighty and helpless. There is a difference. Where is the difference? In the form. But that I am is shared by everyone. That I am is free from what? The forms. Every form. Whether it is a huge all-encompassing form or the little form. So I am ocean, I am wave. Where is the difference? Wave and ocean. In I am, there is that. Without I am, there is no entity. So this is what we say. There is one more understanding that Ishvara blesses you with. When you have first come to the understanding of the presence of the ocean and aligned yourself and got well, Ishvara blesses you with another reality. That, hey child, yes, I'm a big ocean, but between you and me, essentially, there is no difference. Advaita. Advaita Vedanta. When the wave is blessed with the vision of not only the ocean but the water, what does the wave do? The wave does namaskara to the ocean. My God, what did you reveal to me? Where was I and where you took me to? I was struggling as a wave. I didn't know where to go. I felt lonely. I felt lost. I was suffering. You just picked me up and made me see all these things and ultimately revealed a total, essential non-difference between you and me. I am blessed. Jnani is a biggest bhakta. Jnani is just feeling, my God, that the grace of Ishvara flowing through one's life. And this is what he says, to that Jnani I have revealed that your Atma and my Atma is one. Like Kashi was saying, Hanuman was asked, what is the relationship between you and me? He says it depends upon which standpoint you are talking. If I put my eye in my body, then you are what? The Swami, in the sense that from whom that body came. If you say that, how did this body come? Because of what? Some causes. So if you say that I am that jiva, which is not just that physical body, but it has what? Subtle body and the causal body, then you are who? That Swami, what it is? No, then you are a Paramatma. When I am jiva, then you are Paramatma, from which not only the physical body come, but the subtle and causal come. But then if you say, if I speak from the standpoint of Atma, what is the truth of all three? Then I am Atma and you are also equally the Atma. I am that awareness, and Ishvara, which is what, from where all the bodies, physical, subtle and causal came, is also the same awareness.
That we are the same.
That way we are the same. But is he confused? In between? He is very clear. At what level are you talking about? All these levels independent? They are not independent. Where there is physical body, that's where there is subtle body. Where there is subtle body, that's where there is the causal. Where there is causal, that's where there is Ishvara, making it what it is. And where there is Ishvara, there is truth of Ishvara. So anything that you touch, I said, when you touch the wave, you touch simultaneously three things. You touch the wave, you touch the ocean, and you touch the water. It's not like you have to go behind and look for water somewhere. Behind everything. And there is no behind. It's there. Just lift your wave and you will see it. Right? This is how the whole lifting takes place. Where there is a wave, that's exactly, don't look somewhere else. The minute you look somewhere else and you get into imagination. What is this imagination? Oh yeah, one day I'll see some big ocean. One day I'll see myself as this awareness which is free. Hey, you're on a trip. I want to see this whole water but without wave and without ocean. Keep waiting. And no, never a time you'll find it. This is the arrangement. You have to be very clever to get out, and you need help of Ishvara to help you go across the other side of Maya. To see the whole.
So prayers are so important.
That's why prayers are so important. They are integral part of your pursuit. So this is what it says, that Gnani has understood not only the presence of ocean but also the presence of water. That means you, the entity, now let's replace wave, ocean and water into what we see. Right? Who are you? Alpagnaha Alpashaktiman Jiva. Form, which has what? Limited knowledge and limited power. True? You think that we feel so proud that, oh yeah, science and you have made so many discoveries. Hey, how much we don't know, you ask anybody who really knows. They'll tell you there is just plenty that we don't know. Plenty. As I said, both across and also in that given thing that I am pursuing, also I don't know so many things. Alpagnaha Alpashaktiman. What is Ishvara? What is this entity, ocean, which is here, Ishvara? Sarvagnaha Sarvashaktiman. All knowledge and all power. From which comes everything. As I was saying in the meditation, comes everything means what? Comes the time, comes the space, comes the characters, subject, object, comes the possibility of interactions, the capacity to interpret what is happening, based on that interpretation to act. Then act means then you will have result. Then responses, emotional responses, cognitive responses to the result. Everything is what? Within this Ishvara. Sarvajnaha. And not only for one, for what? Everyone. In the past, in the present and in the future. Ishvara Sarvajnaha Sarvashaktiman. We think that, oh, now what, in 100 years people will not need Vedanta because we have used our whole technology in a way that we've changed the world. 100 years ago, people would not have imagined the world to be what it is today. Nobody. There was no electricity. Now what? I lived in Bangkok. Hey, all the lights all night are on. The whole city is shining. Nobody switches off the lights. I mean, what a waste. But if you look, the glitters, a person living in a village would never have imagined 100 years ago that I'm going to create societies which are going to have these tall structures and all these glittering lights. And then I will have what? These elevators which will lift me up. I don't have to climb up. That would be like a fairy tale for this person. Fairy tale. And then I will create shoes which are like this. And not only like this, but that is an epitome of fashion. And people will buy into that, walking like this. All this, the fantasy world. You can't, the 100 years ago, even your imagination would not go so far. That this is the society in which we will live. And that I can talk to somebody, what, sitting in the other corner of the world within minutes. What? And then 100 years ago, you'll imagine, so in that society, what is the need for Vedanta? Now I'm struggling, I have to go and I have to fetch water from the river. Now I'm living in a small hut. Now I have to struggle for my food, I have to go out and fetch it. But in that society, everything will be what? Perfect. Where is the need for this Ishvara and all? Redundant.
Except it somehow got worse.
Exactly. Ishvara laughs. Okay, this is what you want to think. You are given free will. Go ahead. You can believe in that. I'll sit. I don't have any problem. I'll have a laugh. And you come to this 100 years later and you have created those civilizations. You are living in a world which is very different from 100 years ago. Tell me one person who's not looking for fulfillment. And 100 years from now, we'll create different societies, further progress, further so-called progress. The human predicament will remain exactly the same. This is why it is timeless. This knowledge has no time. It's not now I need Ishvara and later on it will become redundant. That is a ridiculous idea. There is a presence which is never away. No matter what I collapse and what I make, nothing to do with what within time and space that object is there. Within time and space, my buddhi is there. It will keep on collapsing things and make new things. This is how we have been seeing. the need for search for meaning is something that you can't erase. You can't erase. And until you come to know, otherwise you are only scratching in the surface. When you deal with the waves, you are only scratching at the surface. Until you come to know the ocean and the water, your life remains superficial. In that life, if you want to find completeness, this is how, you were asking me if moksha is so important, why don't people go for it? Because the whole orientation is within this, I want to improve and I want to enjoy. This is the orientation. They don't want to go here. That's what keeps them going for cycles of creation, not one birth.
It's also hard to understand it in its entirety. A little bit you can understand. So people may not want to do that. Make that effort.
But exactly. So that means that you feel that in getting the promotions, I want to make an effort, because that's more important to me than knowing the totality. So that is your orientation, and that's fine. I mean, as long as that is your orientation, you will not go for knowing the bigger thing, you will go for the promotion. And this is how most of the people continue to do what they have to do, right? But they think that getting promotion is very easy, but what happens in that itself, there are a lot of other suffering that happens, because my search is in the wrong direction. So you first may not get promotion, then you have to deal with it. And even if you get promotion, you now find that your boss that you have to report to is worse than your existing boss. So there are all kinds of things keep coming. What seems like easy, what it keeps eluding. It seems this is an easy way to get happiness, but it gets you deeper into the entanglement. And then you miss the essential. So that is what the whole Vedanta, unless you have Vedanta, what happens is what these small things become big. Small pursuits become very big. They occupy huge mental space, and the bigger reality is what missed out. So that means, what is a starting point with which your mind begins to interact with the universe? All distorted, where small things have become big and big things are missed out. Vedanta remaps your whole brain. The biggest problem, I was asking Swamiji yesterday to talk about, according to me, the biggest problem people have in understanding Vedanta is, I really liked what Darshana said. See, you come to Vedanta with lots of ideas about lots of things. So when I talk, what happens? You want to fit what I say into what your existing framework. You just want to, this is how we are used to, right? You just add information to your existing framework. But your existing framework itself is very partial and faulty. And you keep adding some data. What will happen? Will you ever understand? You need to demolish your set it aside. You can't demolish. You need to set it aside and what? Be open and see what somebody is saying and create what? A new framework altogether, within which you can then selectively take different ideas and say, is this more accurate or what I think is more accurate? Lovely. But if you retain this and then insert the information from Vedanta in this, you will never get it. This whole teaching is Maya Duratya. Difficult to do all of this. But it is essential and it can be done. Human intelligence is capable of doing it. This is why if you don't do it, it says it's a waste of human birth. You are just dealt with the tip of the iceberg, the whole depth remain unfathomed. So, this is who the Gnani is. The Atma of I and the Atma of Jiva and Ishvara, Gnani knows is identical. So there are two standpoints. If the Jiva says, I am the individual, then what? And Ishvara is the total. I am part of the total. But if Jiva is speaking from the standpoint of the water, then what? All that is here is water. It has no parts. I am. Right? So this is what the vision of Gnani is. So here he says, Udara sarva evaite gnane tvatmaiva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mamevam uttamam gatim. So this is what is beautiful. He says that all these people who pray to me, don't give them a complex. That what? They are all lowly, the arti, artharthi. At least they are better than what? That little partial understanding of Ishvara they have. No matter how incomplete it is, at least what? Give some kind of what?
Appreciation.
Certain appreciation and certain recognition of your existence, which is within a bigger order of things. That itself is a healthy thing. Unless it becomes what all these fanaticism, where you say that we are the chosen ones and everybody else is what? Doomed. These are what? Again, very dangerous ideas. But if it doesn't remain, it doesn't go to all those levels, but it just remains you and your appreciation with something higher, then that's lovely. Don't disturb them. It's wonderful. So he doesn't have any problem. We have problems with believers, but he doesn't. He understands that everybody is not capable of looking into the truth of Ishvara and all. There are people who are just dealing with Ishvara at all simple levels, and he says they are all lovely people. We have judgments. He doesn't have. Ishvara doesn't have judgments. Every possibility is there. Different people are going to collapse different possibilities. So there he says, Udara sarva evaite gnani tu atma eva memata. He says, but Gnani is what? My Atma. There is no difference between me and Gnani. I have revealed my entire truth to. There is nothing remaining to be known. So, my Atma and Gnani's Atma becomes one. It is one. It has always been one. It was only what? Veiled. The veil is lifted. And in this whole world, tell me one thing. Who do you like the most? Yourself. There is Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which says, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. The one that you love the most is yourself. You may think that I love this person, I love that person, I love this person, but actually the reality is you love yourself the most. Then why do you love somebody else? Because in you feel in that person's presence, you feel happy. So that person makes you full, so therefore you love the person. The same person who is object of your love, if starts irritating you, what will happen? Now bye-bye. Right? So that means it seems as though you have love for that person, but actually you have love for yourself. And you have love for that person because in whose presence you feel what? Happy, content, you feel full. So here he says, there is no such thing in this universe called selfless. Everybody, the biggest love is I. So here Lord Krishna, so then you can ask, if everybody is love is I, then what, everybody will be very indifferent to others, right? So what can you do now? You expand your I to include everyone. Because your I is what you think it is only this much. But if you expand and make it real I, where is it? Everywhere. That expansion is not just the expansion of the heart, it is expansion based on reality. It's an infrastructure of the brain of what you understand about the world that changes. And everything else gets percolated along that. So that means the basic premise of a person who is ignorant is, I am dissatisfied and I have to engage in the world to gain satisfaction. The wise person is, I am complete, I am the whole, but I do appear in this given body and mind, and I have to do what I have to do. Everything that I do is an expression of my fullness. I'm not seeking fullness from the world, I am already complete. But this all-pervasive I seems to be what confined to this body and mind, and seems to be what connected to this given body and mind in some unique way. Now how can I use this body and mind which is given to me at my disposal to make the contribution that I have to make? The whole ball game changes. So this is where the I, that's why Lord Krishna says that not only for the Jiva's I is the most important, even for Ishvara what? I is the most important. Then what? That the Gnani has become what? I. That's why Gnani is loved by me the most.
Because there is no separation.
There is no separation. There is no separation. Gnani is my Atma, and Atma is the one that everybody loves the most. There is no separation. It's not like I like this Gnani. There is no such thing. There is no separation. To this Gnani, I have revealed that we two are one. Right? So this is where he says, Gnani to Atma me matam. And this is why he is very priyam to me. Okay? And what happens to this Gnani when the total identity is known? Okay? So as we saw that everybody has what that when we have veils, we are connected to physical, subtle and the causal bodies. And every time we don't lift that veil, what happens? I think I am an individual, I engage in the world and I accrue karma. So now, once I understand that I am not this individual but I am that awareness which is actionless, there is no action in awareness. What happens to all the karma? The karma, the causal body, is the one which gives rise to subsequent physical and subtle bodies to go through experiences of one's karma. And while you are going through the experiences which are result of our karma, we also acquire new karma. And this is how what we go on and on and on. Now if somebody has figured it out that I am not this individual but I am that awareness, what happens to all the karmas which are in the account of this jiva?
They don't really exist anymore.
They don't exist anymore. So this is what he says, he gets paramagati. Paramagati means what? There is no coming back in this life of becoming. The entire account is closed. So this is what?
Because who will you attribute it to?
Excellent. Who will you? In order to have karma, you need to attribute it to something. There is no attribution. And when there is no attribution, the whole thing falls apart. Perfect Nita. Super. The entity itself, what in this life is figured out, is gone. Gone in the sense that it's there empirically, but the truth, its relativity is known, and one's true nature is also known.
I always used to wonder how can karma just
Exactly. How
end
can
it?
Absolutely. Karmas cannot end unless you understand this. But once you understand this, there is no place where you can attribute this karma. Perfect. The whole thing falls apart.
Where does it go though?
So that means when it just it disintegrates. So there is something which is interesting. It says that all the past karmas, they are all gone. Immediately they are just kind of destroyed. The agami karma, which is very interesting. Agami karma means that the person in this life or even after the knowledge takes place, there is all these the faculties are still there. They already Jnani also engages in the world, and there is this karma. So what they say is that people who come and learn from the Jnani, that the punyas go to them. And so, and the people who give a hard time in the sense that sometimes you criticize or you feel that this is all a bunch of what verbal kind of what do you say? These are all just play of ideas, and it's all just some kind of verbal, I don't know, they use some word, it's just juggling with the words. There is no real content in Vedanta. Many people think like that. It's just, conditioning you to believe in something which is not there. So those are the people who will get what? Papa. Or some people give a hard time. They said, oh, these jnanis, if that jnani is a sannyasi, they are all useless. They are not doing anything productive, and they are just kind of wasting people's time. So that means these are all the people who actively used their free will to disturb. So the papas will go. But this is, in fact, in the Shastra, it's just a kind of I don't think that there is. Actually, the reality is, Agama is also gone. Because there is no entity. That is the reality.
So even the future actions are gone.
The future actions are all gone. Exactly.
You realize the truth.
Exactly. Because there is no entity to own up. The only thing that remains is prarabdha karma. Why does prarabdha karma remain?
Because we still have to live the rest of our life.
Absolutely. They have already started fructifying. Prakarshena arabdha. Already started.
What if someone takes samadhi at this point?
At
what
that
happens
point,
to prarabdha then?
So then they are using their free will to then end. So they are using that free will, but they will have no consequence. But if others do, then they will have consequence. But why would you? Right? If you really understand all that is here is Ishvara, why? What is exactly? Absolutely. So it is given in a way. For example, this whole prarabdha karma. Imagine that there is a person who shot an arrow, right? And after the arrow is shot, the person dies. Will the arrow stop? It will go on. What will now decide how long it will go? Already released. What? The strength, exactly, the strength with which it was released, the winds, the entire it will continue. It has got nothing to do with what the person, because person has already released it. Prarabdha karma is like that, already released, while there was ignorance. And in that process, the person got out of this whole thing by removing the ignorance. But the thing which is already released has its life of its own. Prarabdha karma of every Dani will continue. And this is why the Prarabdha will give all kinds of different situations just for any other person. There is no difference.
But the Jnani can no longer go against dharma
Exactly.
in any situation.
Excellent. Jnani cannot, because in order to gain the knowledge, so much alignment was done. So Jnani cannot go against dharma. Jnani will, be able to manage the emotions. Jnani has a given perspective with which to handle the situations. All this then will, all the maturity that one has made an effort to gain has become spontaneous for Jnani. So then will be able to navigate oneself cleverly, without denial, without creating some ideals, absolutes in this relative world. Cleverly. So this is what Jnani will do. But the more important thing is that, the fact that the Prarabdha karma doesn't get destroyed has a few things which are very important. Okay? The first thing is, imagine if I tell you that the minute you understand this reality, your body is going to disappear. And you're like,
I don't want to do that.
Exactly. Nobody wants to learn because everybody has that, connection. And you want to actually, don't totally want to give up that connection, at least for this life. Right? So therefore, that is what is a deterrent that if that happens. The second thing is, for all these yugas, we have lived as an incomplete being. Now, we are given a few years to live with what? A totally different understanding. What a life becomes a celebration. Who says that the person who knows is rejecting the world? Hey, the whole life is a celebration. Celebration of Ishvara. Celebration of Ishvara and my connection with that Ishvara and my participation in that amazing manifestation of Ishvara. You're given this time to enjoy. That's the time that you can really enjoy. Otherwise, it's all partial enjoyment.
But then you're still limited with health problems.
That's true.
That's a part of the karma.
That is part of karma going. That's true. That some suffering is there, but while you are healthy, the whole term of the terms of engaging with the world changes. And this is why our teacher used to say that, when he was not well, he was in Bangkok, and we happened to be living in Bangkok at that time. So, because he had this heart thing, so everybody would say, yeah, you just rest, and that'll be fine. He says, you know what, I don't want to prolong my life by just being in the bed longer. I'm here to do what I have to do. As long as I can do things, wonderful. When my body can't do everything that I want to do, it will drop. I'm not committed to prolonging the body for just prolongation's sake. That is not my purpose.
As long as it serves.
As long as it serves what I want to do, I'm very happy to live. But as soon as it becomes a liability, just staying in bed and increasing 2 years of my life, I don't see the reason. So don't ask me to just sit and rest and not do things. For doing things, I am here. Right? The whole terms of living in this world changes. You become a special upadhi through which Ishvara can accomplish things. This is what I was telling Neeta, that you don't need Einstein to come and teach you relativity. It is done through the professor who is standing in front of you. In this big thing is the same. Then the Gnani, in addition to just enjoying life, what it is a participating. And that participation is what? Making somebody else see what he or she sees. Helping. Again and again and again, people come and tell us, we were just sharing whatever we had learned. But we started seeing the power of what, obviously for us it was very important. But when we were sharing, people were telling that their lives are transformed in a very short period of time. That's what actually impelled us to leave our jobs and to come. He said, my God, what we have is a treasure. And we can't just keep it to ourselves. You need to make it available. And in that making it available, there is one help. They say that every dhanam is a noble thing, but vidya dhanam is a most exalted dhanam. That when you give vidya, what happens? You go to a person who has power. And that person uses some power to fix. What are you doing? Are you becoming wiser? You need that person, you are creating a dependency. You need that person more and more and more. And you never get to the level of the person. But when you impart vidya, you impart the power. You empower others. You don't put them under your control. You make them, the very shishya becomes a guru. Empowerment. You don't keep the person at this level always. You lift the person up. You empower. So that is the role that the wise person has to do. Empower others. And we all do. Either we empower what? All the people who are engaged in social work, they are empowering people. So they are giving them education, they are giving them healthcare, they are giving them opportunities, employment, vocational training, so many different kinds of empowerment. And they are all very useful. You see how lives can change as a result of that empowerment. So there is somebody who Virish sent me one story. And the story is an interesting story. So I can tell? Okay, I will tell. So there is this, some very famous, now the names I have forgotten. But there is one, and this is supposedly a real life story. So there was this very famous pianist and from Poland, and he was very well known, and there are one boy who wanted to go to Stanford University but didn't have the money to go to Stanford University. So that means now they found a way to how to raise this kind of a money. So they said, okay, we'll call this pianist and we'll organize a fundraising concert, and with the funds raised, I will be able to pay the tuition. So that means then they agreed with the manager of this pianist and said, okay, now you guarantee us this much money and he will give a concert, and then after you give us, whatever else comes, you take as part of your fee payment. So the whole arrangement was done, and this little boy, not little, I mean he was a young person, he organized this charity concert, and what was supposed to be given to him, to the artist, they raised less than what was supposed to be his fee. So where is the question of paying him and using the surplus for the tuition? So that boy was very dejected, and he went to the manager and he says, sorry, I can't, because this whole thing is financially not viable for me. So the manager went and told the pianist. So the pianist called that little boy, I mean little means young boy, and then he says that no, I don't need, you keep everything that you have raised, you keep it with you and you use it towards your fees, and I'll come and I'll perform. So he didn't take a single pie, and what gave the entire sum to this child, and he went and graduated from Stanford. As the time went, the pianist forgot about it. The boy was thankful, that he did this made this contribution to the life. Years passed. After the Second World War, this pianist, being such an accomplished person, became president of Poland. And Poland in 1 year after the war had severe drought, and there was just so much suffering because people didn't have food to eat. So he wrote to the US president and he asked for help. And he says, my country, people are starving and whatever. And he received a lot of help. And he fed his people, and so Poland was saved. So the Poland president went to the United States of America, and he wanted to personally thank the president of the US for helping his country out. So he went there and he says, thank you, President, you really helped my country. The President of the United States tells him, you know what, you have helped me. He said, what? He said, you don't need to thank me for doing this because you have helped me. He says, what? When have I helped you? He says, do you remember this 16-year-old child who came to you asking for money? And you gave all the money, and I'm that boy. So, how life takes you. You don't know where it can take you. This is how the whole arrangement is. In this Ishvara, you have to really trust and flow. With your doubting, questioning, small mind, if you just keep on, if you don't let this vision bless you, who is the loser? The teacher can only make this whole knowledge available. Make you just revel in your connection with Ishvara. And ultimately, you will also be blessed with this vision. This is the role that Gnani has to play. So you can help people at so many levels, but if you help the person come out of this limitation and take that person to limitless, what is your contribution? You make what? From what? Mrityorma amrutam gamaya. Asatoma sat. You help the person to what? Take the person from asat to sat. From darkness to light. And what? From mortality to immortality. That is a role that Gnani has to play. Prarabdha karma is very important.
And they say if you do annadana,
yeah.
So that's the only dhanam which will make a person satiated. So full. But only for a short while.
Yes.
Next time again hunger will
again
come.
hunger.
But Brahma Vidya Dhanam forever
Yes.
will satiate.
Yes. Lovely. Wonderful. It completely satiate the person. There is no lack. It addresses the very fundamental lack that we all live with, which never seems to go. Temporarily it goes and it comes back. This knowledge will fulfill you forever. Then you make what? Others also, through this teaching, make others fulfill. So this is the role that Gnani has to play. So this is why the prarabdha karma remains. But after the prarabdha karma is over, there is no locus. So then what becomes? There is no, because the causal is
Also
gone. There is no need. From the causal comes what? Subtle and physical. They also don't come. So you don't need to come back in this world as with a given form, connected to a given form. But when you don't come back connected to a given form, is it an extinction? No. Who are you?
Ishvara.
Exactly. You are Ishvara, and the truth of that Ishvara is one. Right? So this is what he says. He gives paramam gatim. So this is what the knowledge, which is the freedom right now, and afterwards what? Not coming back into this world as an individual. Because as long as you come back as an individual, as Rashna says, you can't avoid health problems, you can't avoid, because you are absolutely. So that is, then subsequent experiencing goes away, okay, as an individual. Then we will say that who is this Gnani? There is a little bit of a praise of this Gnani that we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.